A question that some of you may ask yourselves is why I'm building this PC during the pandemic, and think to yourself, well, isn't that a bad idea? Aren't parts really expensive right now, and shouldn't you wait until this is all over? In this video I'm going to be showing you that despite these harsh times, you can still build an outstanding gaming PC for just about any budget. The processor I went with for this build is the Ryzen 5 3600 6-core and 12-thread CPU, which is a very good CPU for its price point of around $200 and fits our budget perfectly. Inside the box we have, as always, the CPU itself followed by some papers and the included stock cooler. We won't be using that though, as we have a much better part ready for the task. The motherboard we're going to be using is the MSI Gaming Pro Carbon X470. I've chosen this motherboard for its outstanding VRM performance given the price point and its overclocking capabilities. Gladly as well, AMD has recently spoken on reinitiating support for the upcoming Zen 3 CPUs on most 400 series motherboards. This means that later down the road, if you choose to upgrade to a Zen 3 CPU, that this motherboard will still have you covered. And there is a link to the Gamers Nexus video explaining the support for these boards in the description. The RAM I went with for this build is 16GB of DDR4 3600 memory from G.SKILL. Two 8GB sticks should be more than enough for any tasks that you might have for the build, whether that be busy timelines when editing videos, some gaming, graphics designing, or any other tasks that you may want to throw at it. The thermal compound that I've chosen to go with for this build is the Thermal Grizzly Carbonaut Thermal Pad. I've chosen this particular product for this build because, just as advertised, unlike a traditional thermal paste, it doesn't degrade over time, it is reusable, and best of all, it is less of a hassle for new builders since it isn't messy nor is it arguably difficult to apply. Instead of having the new builder arguing with himself among others about how to properly apply the thermal paste, I just thought it best to cut it out of the equation entirely. The Carbonaut thermal pad applies with nothing more than the force of gravity and the builder's mind's content of flattening out any wrinkles, and that is all. Now, just for the sake of getting the rest of the specs out of the way before assembly, for the graphics card I've chosen the EVGA FTW3 1080 Ti, as recently has been easily found for just under $420 on eBay, used and in brand new condition. I've also chosen this card because despite this being an AMD based build, the NVIDIA 1080 Ti simply outperforms any 5700 XT available by a fair margin of about 15% in games, all for the same price of about 420 American dollars. The For the Win 3 card also sports a unique aesthetic with its open GPU shroud design, its massive heatsink, and its triple fan design. The power supply I went with for this build is unnecessarily large and expensive, however it just so happened that I had it lying around not in use and decided to include it in the build. Don't worry though, I still factored in the price of this unit into the budget of the build, and it still fit in just fine at the price point. My personal recommendation for a power supply would be something more like the Corsair RM 650W fully modular 80+ gold power supply, as it better suits the power draw of the system and the overall budget better than the EVGA does, and leaves you with a few extra bucks to play around with after the build as well. The case I went with for this build is the Deepcool Matrexx 70 ADD-RGB 3F mid-tower case, which sports 3 pre-installed 120mm RGB intake fans and another stock 120mm fan also pre-installed exhausting at the rear. The case comes with mounting options for up to 316mm rads at both the front and top of the case, along with support for up to 3 140mm fans at the front just in case you decide to upgrade later on down the road. This particular case at this price point is quite substantial, as it essentially blows all of the competition out of the water, with an insane value being at just 110 American dollars at the time of filming. This is not only an achievement for Deepcool by making this case, but also an achievement within the budget case market as well, given the value. Something that competing manufacturers should definitely take note of. And last but not least, yes, I know you saw it on the table at the beginning of the video, but it's the EVGA CLC 280mm AIO liquid cooler. All built now, the build looks stunning overall, and using the addressable RGB lighting toggle located at the front panel of the case, the color is entirely now up to you and to your personal preference. The build runs great with an average of over 100 FPS with the settings maxed in GTA 5 and nearly 120 on average with the settings maxed in Modern Warfare, all at 1080p. We reached a score on stock of 3,560 on Cinnamon Shard 20 before overclocking and reached a score of 3,752 after our overclock. If you want to see a part 2 to this video where I'll be applying the new Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut Extreme thermal paste to the CPU, since I'm not a new builder, and swapping in some Noctua fans, be sure to subscribe to catch that. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up because that helps my channel out a lot. And if you have any questions or suggestions for me or this build, be sure to comment them down below. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.